Hey guys, how you doing? Dervy here. So, Live Letter 13. This live letter wasn't really as exciting as previous live letters, unfortunately. There wasn't really a lot of things mentioned in this live letter, and it was mainly filled up with glamours, retainer ventures, and lore. However, one piece of valuable information was the new eye levels, which will be in patch 2.2. The patch notes, if you've not seen them already, are also up, and there's a link in the description box below if you want to go and check it out. I'll do an overview of the patch notes in another video, but for now, we'll only discuss information posted in the live letter. The first thing we'll discuss is the new retainer ventures. This is a new system where you can go and send your retainer out for missions and gather monster resource shops. They quite literally become your own mini army of bots who over time will fight mobs to get monster drops like hide and skins, or gather resource nodes like botany trees or mining nodes. Firstly, each retainer will have their own class, which has to be leveled up. Your retainer levels up through doing these missions. You can also gear up your retainer to make sure they are always at their best. The better gear they have, the better your retainer can farm items for you. You can pick any of the current available classes for your retainer to be, but you must have that class unlocked first on your main character. So if I don't have fishing unlocked, for example, I cannot have my retainer to become a fisherman. If you do decide to change your retainer's class, just like your own characters, the levels will be reset back to 1. Each class set will farm different items, so a Lancer, which is a combat class, will farm different items than what a botanist would, for example. The higher level retainers can also go and obtain minions and unique crafting items, which can only be obtained through these ventures. After you selected your retainer's class and geared them up, you can finally send them off to their missions. Under one condition: you need to pay them first. You need to obtain a special retainer token known as ventures. You can get these ventures through doing a daily quest, leave meets, or exchanging Grand Company seals in for them. When your retainer is on a venture, he or she will be gone for a period of time. You can cancel their venture at any moment you wish, but you will not be refunded back your tokens. The retainer isn't fully gone, however. You can temporarily call them back if you need to sell or access your retainer storage. This will not affect their current venture and will not cancel it either. Currently, you can only have 2 retainers, but in the future you will be able to purchase an extra 2 more retainers with real money cash. The approximate price for these 2 extra retainers is 200 yen, which is around £1.19, €1.50, or $1.90. Yoshi also went into a bit about farming. I'll briefly cover this topic, as unfortunately there was no images or demos shown to complement the gardening. Instead, I'll show you some new gear and items that were shown in the live letter. For farming, you'll need your Grand Company house and some seeds, of course. Then you can purchase farmland, which is in your Grand Company house's garden or the front yard. The size of the farmland dictates how many seeds you can plant in that particular plot of land. You can purchase a small, medium, or large plots of land to farm in. The size of the house you purchased will also allow you to have more farming plots. You do not need to worry about watering your plants either. Each seed will take around 3 to 5 days to grow naturally. The items you obtain obviously are based off the seeds that you've planted. You can also obtain seeds from the produce that you've grown. It is also possible to mix breeds of plants and produce by planting 2 different kinds of seeds next to each other. Different combinations of seeds will yield new plants, including some rare items. As the FC Master, you can set privileges to who can and can't farm or plant seeds. And that's pretty much it for farming. There isn't really much information there. Next up, we have Daily Beastman and Tribe Quest. Again, there isn't really much to talk about here, so I'm just going to very quickly blitz through it. We're also getting the Sahagin and the Kobold Beastman Tribe Quest. Just like before, you can gain reputation with these 2 new beast tribes, and eventually you'll get yourself some really cool mounts. Yoshida also confirmed that getting maximum reputation all 4 beast tribes will unlock you a special reward. Presumably it's an achievement just like getting 50 in all of your classes. We're also getting the Ixalis in a later update. After the Ixalis, players will also be able to cast their votes on what they want next. And here's an image of the Kobold mount. and as you can see, it has really nice, like a flying deck chair kinda, and you have all these fire bombs actually carrying them out. And here is the Sahagan mount, which is basically like a little alligator. It's pretty cool. Now then, the echo buff. The echo buff is something that concerns a lot of players, and will most definitely impact the more casual players in the game. This buff will be implemented differently in certain instances to help out the slower or more casual players to catch up content wise. For starters, you will need to actually be in combat for 3 minutes in order for you to receive the echo buff. If you do not meet the 3-minute mark before your party wipes, you will not receive this buff. Each death that meets this 3-minute requirement will then add an increased stack to your echo buff. This buff bonus is different depending on instances, like I said before. However, the echo buff is extremely different for the Binding Caller Bahamut. So for the hard modes, including Chimera and Hydra, you will receive a 10% buff to your HP, DPS and cure potency every death 3 minutes into combat. This buff will stack up to a maximum of 5 times, giving the party a total of a 50% overall buff. Now, for Garuda, Titan and Ifrit extreme modes, including Ultima Hard mode, this buff will be 5% instead and will stack 5 times, up to a total of 25%. The echo buff for the coil, however, will be much different. It still forces static players who have not already cleared Twintania to actually go and learn the mechanics. It will be around 2 months, maybe 2.5 months before it's actually possible for every player to actually go into Twintania and face roll her with multiple deaths in the group. For the first 2 weeks, no players will be able to receive the echo buff at all. However, every 2 weeks then on, all participants will automatically receive the echo buff. The first buff is 10%. This is automatically enabled at the start of the coil run, and will only start after the first 2 weeks of the patch have gone. After another 2 weeks, it will then increase to 15%, the following 2 weeks will then be 20%, and then afterwards it will be 30%. There's also a few changes to the earlier turns of the coil. High voltage from ADS in turns 1 and 2 will be turned down, and the paralysis can now be cured over sooner. Also, the Clockwork Knights in turn 4 will have their magic reflect turned down a little bit. Now then, this is something that everybody has greatly anticipated. The new item levels make me extremely excited, and there is a lot of new gear to complement the new item levels, as well as a few new surprise changes. Firstly, Tomes of Philosophy are completely getting removed from the game. As of patch 2.2, you will no longer be able to obtain Tomestones of Philosophy. Any current Tomes of Philosophy you have remaining can be traded in for Mythology at Oriana, who's in the armory store at Revenant's Toll. Darklight, which is once purchased, is now a dungeon drop from dungeons like WP and AK. Mythology Tomestones would now take the place of Philosophy, thus the introduction of the new set of Tomestones known as the Allegan Tomestones of Soldiery. Just like Mythology, Soldieries will be obtainable in all dungeons and will have a cap of 450 per week. Mythology now has its weekly restriction removed, but it is still capped at a maximum of 2,000 just like current Philosophy. The new Tomes of Soldiery is what is needed of course to purchase the new set's raiding gear, but there is a twist to it. Unlike how our AF+1 gear currently is, the Tomestone gear is now weaker than the Allegan gear. This means Allegan gear is officially the new top tier raiding gear. This will make gearing up and meeting DPS/healing requirements in the new coil turns much harder and much slower. So, the new item levels for patch 2.2 are as follows. Eye level 90. For the new crafted green gear, you can put materia into this gear. Eye level 95 is assumed to be a new weapon of some sort, either a new Moogle Mog weapon or Leviathan EX weapon. Eye level 100 is also assumed to be the new Tomestone gear, as it is weaker than the current Allegan gear, which will be introduced in the next patch. Eye level 110 is the new Allegan gear, which is only obtainable from coil and is meant to be the strongest armor of the patch. And eye level 115 is meant to be the new most powerful weapons of 2.2. It is unconfirmed what this weapon is, but people are assuming that it is either the alien weapons or the Zodiac weapons or both. This is a 20 eye-level jump from the current tier rating, which is pretty impressive. Zodiac weapons is something that I just mentioned. These weapons are meant to be our new, stronger relic weapons. The journey for the Zodiac weapon starts with a quest called the Saga of the Zodiac. The Zodiac weapons will continuously upgrade through each patch. 2.2 is the introduction of them, and they will continue to upgrade in patch 2.25, 2.3 and so on. One thing to note is that the quest for the Zodiac weapons will be very long. Apparently players will just about be finishing the Zodiac weapons before the next patch comes out, which will be patch 2.25. You will need to combine your Zodiac weapon with other items to upgrade, or create it, and in the end, you'll be able to select one additional stat to have in your weapon. Also, each upgrade will change the look of your Zodiac weapon. This system was originally called the Excalibur system, according to Yoshida. As for Leviathan and Imgur EX, both can be cleared with I-90 gear, though the Leviathan EX drops a unique item which can be used for something special. I really wouldn't be surprised if we need to farm Leviathan EX to obtain a unique drop for our Zodiac weapon. Now then, Yoshida also discussed some patch 2.3 content and beyond. First up, he's teased us some new Frontline stuff, and in case you don't know already, Frontlines is meant to be the Realm vs Realm PvP in Final Fantasy XIV. Originally planned for patch 2.2, it appears it is now getting pushed back for 2.3. Here, we can see the new Paladin line set for the Frontlines PvP. And here, we have some new images of what the Frontlines look like. It looks absolutely beautiful. 2.3 will also be the release of the next Crystal Tower patch. Yoshida confirmed that by 2.3 we will also be able to form 24-man pre-made parties. The Golden Saucer, a minigame area from Final Fantasy VII, is due to make an appearance in the game at some point. It's unknown when this area will come out, but there are meant to be 3 major minigames installed. One of them, Yoshida hinted, will be a Chocobo activity from Final Fantasy VII. And I assume this is going to be Chocobo racing, which I honestly cannot wait. We also get 2 really cool and awesome tank mounts, which will be available at some point. We have a huge bear for warriors and a lion for paladins. It is unconfirmed whether these 2 mounts will come for patch 2.2 or patch 2.3. Yoshida has also confirmed that from patch 2.2 onwards, the main story will also lead the player towards the city of Ishgard. We will be directly involved with the city in some form or another. Yoshida also mentioned that at some point, we will also even eventually enter the city of Ishgard, which leads us onto the expansion, which is also known as patch 3.0. The theme of the expansion is something which involves a 1,000-year-old war and fighting which has been going on for over 100 years. It is also themed to be in the sky, which is making me think of sky and flying mounts and airships, something Yoshida has once mentioned he has an interest in doing. I personally think that the expansion is directly linked to Ishgard. It makes sense for the story to slowly lead into the next expansion pack. On Ishgardian flags, it also states either for the sky or from the sky, which is meant to be the theme of the next expansion. Ishgardians have also been in war for hundreds of years with the dragons. Yoshida also confirmed that there will in fact be a patch 2.4 in the future, which I assume will arrive sometime around September. There's also a special Easter event called Hatching Tide. It will be from the 9th of April to the 22nd of April. And that pretty much concludes this Live Letter 13 coverage video, and as I said, I will later go over the patch notes in another video and other pieces of information in the near future. I'd like to give a warm shout out to Reinhardt once again, who made this video possible through his live translations. So yeah guys, thank you for watching this video, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys all later.